What would you do if a giant snake made its way into your humble abode? Scream, cry, or take it on by yourself? Let's see how these professionals handle giant snake situations. First up, this video comes from South America and showcases not one, but a couple of snakes huddled together in someone's ceiling. The video starts off with one of the snakes attempting to be pulled down by the tail, but this thing will not move. Another person is poking at the ceiling, purposely trying to scare them out. But what comes next is much more thrilling. With one more good strike to the roof, the entire thing comes crashing down, revealing the group of giant snakes all curled together. Based on the patterns, there had to be at least two of these bad boys all trying to stay out of sight. Quickly, the biggest of the two attempts at scurrying off now that its full body is revealed, coiling itself back up into the crevices of the upper attic. Consider yourself extremely lucky that your ceiling was a perfect spot for these two monsters to get together and breed a whole new generation of giant snakes. Next is a great example of how to get the job done right when dealing with snakes in your ceiling. In Queensland, a family reported hearing strange noises within the crawl spaces of their ceiling. Unsure of what it was, the husband decided to cut out a square opening just above their kitchen and decided to slip his phone inside. What he captured was another pair of snakes that were very unhappy to see a camera light flashing within their nesting space. Immediately calling up a snake wrangler, this woman shows us how to properly snake out these guys without tearing down an entire ceiling. First, she had to hook onto them with a rod and then begin to pull them out slowly. The trick is to quickly find their head as soon as it's visible, because the last thing you want is to have them strike at you. It definitely helped that these weren't 20-foot long snakes, but still, the bravery within these workers is impressive. Up next, the toilet surprise. Always make sure that you're looking into your toilet bowl before making any sort of personal movement. Out in Arizona, a woman was surprised to see a rattlesnake crawling out from her toilet pipes. As she was getting ready for work, the woman noticed some bubbling noises coming from within the bowl. Looking into it, she could see where the air bubbles appearing beneath the water. Keeping her eyes on it, she then noticed the tiny little snake head poke its way out of the opening. Immediately grabbing her camera to record this encounter, this is the video we are witnessing. This is a great example of how not to handle a snake, because immediately she goes to grab the wrong part of its body rather than the head. Thankfully though, nothing apparently happens, and the snake just kind of looks at her extremely confused. Next time though, it's probably best to let professionals deal with this one. Let's move on down to Australia, the country with all things crazy and big. While enjoying a beautiful sunny day in their backyard, a family notices a giant snake slithering its way off the roof and towards their pine tree. While they were planning on cooking up a barbecue, the father notices something out of the corner of his eye on the top of the roof. It was a giant snake stretching its head outward to try and reach for the pine tree across. Quickly grabbing out his camera, the man began to record this encounter, managing to capture the perfect moment of the snake elongating itself as it tried to get down from the house. There are no words to describe how terrified I'd be seeing this gigantic monster in person, especially when it's up so high and there's no way for me to get to it. If you saw this in your backyard, how would you react? Up next, we have even more ceiling snakes. I'm not sure what it is about ceilings, but these guys absolutely love when they're creating a nesting ground. Thankfully, this time though, it's only one snake and multiple people on the job for it. Our first guy that we see in the video appears to be guiding the snake in the opposite direction rather than pulling it down. Eventually, the snake disappears, not because it managed to escape, but rather on the other side, there was another group of men pulling it out through a different opening. Finally, we see them emerge through the doorway with this giant creature, perfectly having its head secured with specialized tools and carefully dragging it out through the front door. Many people in the comments applauded that the men were also barefoot and trying to do this, putting a lot of faith in those tools that they wouldn't suddenly malfunction on them. Let's head on over to Thailand now, where they also have their own issues with giant snake problems. This worker is a little more prepped and ready for this encounter though than the others. He's got the gloves, suit, boots, everything. Slowly peeling back the ceiling tile, we are immediately shown a snake's body coiled in the far corner, trying its best to hide. The man is trying to be extremely careful with this, not wanting to accidentally pull the whole ceiling down. But of course, nothing ever goes our way in situations like these. By gently yanking on the snake's tail in an attempt to pull it out, all the tiles begin to fall under the weight of this thing, finally revealing itself. But now Buddy has to act fast, and he needs to secure the now visible head before it strikes. In the end, he manages to capture it by placing his foot over it to keep it from trying to squirm around. Another day, another snake captured. This next giant snake isn't one that you can easily grab by the head. This boy is a monster, measuring out to at least 15 feet long. Somewhere in East Asia, a man noticed a giant snake slithering over a stone wall in crazy close proximity to people's homes. At first he thought it was a really long hose for draining water, until he got a really good look at it. It was in fact a giant snake, and he quickly needed to film his encounter. He was a bit more clever with this by keeping his body and camera out of view from the snake's eye line, as it was already far over the barrier. Extra points for the camera guy for making it extremely dramatic, but how does one actually deal with a snake of this size? It has to at least be well over 400 pounds based on its length alone. Would you be able to deal with it? Up next is another video a little too close for comfort. This family finds a giant snake chilling and taking a quick snooze in one of their beds. It's not uncommon in certain areas to have bars on your windows instead of glass, as it also serves as a cooling purpose to keep the house ventilated, and with glass being a major heat transfer. But because of this choice, you leave yourself open to the possibility of having a snake enter your home. As the man is pulling back the blankets, he reveals the monster all cuddled up and cozy beneath the sheets. These people are obviously not having it and immediately sprang into action. I find it ironic that the guy taking this thing head on is wearing a Spider-Man outfit as well. He gently tries to move it around to find a good area to try and secure its head, but rightfully so, he's terrified. But in the end, they manage to effortlessly guide the snake out of the house without anyone getting injured. Sometimes it takes a village, especially in this next clip where we see an entire group of people attempt to pull out this snake from its hiding spot in the ceiling. Early in the day before this occurrence, there was a familial party going on with everybody over. Everyone was having a blast until someone pointed out the strange sounds coming up from above them. It sounded like something was being dragged across the upper level, and it dawned on everyone that there was a snake intruder in their home. Banding together, the family sought out where it was heading to next, and cut open a part of the ceiling to try and ambush it. The moment they saw this thing, they wasted no time in trying to pull it out. A whole bunch of them grabbing at its tail and yanking down hard on it. It's quite the scene, but they managed to pull it off with only a couple of bumps and bruises. For our final video, a podcast recording gets shockingly interrupted by a snake coming down from the ceiling. This was on the guest speaker's end as well, where out of nowhere on the top right, a snake drops its head down accidentally, immediately capturing the attention of other people in the live stream. The two other people who were hosting the stream warned the guest speaker about the snake dangling down in awe, but he assured them that the snake occasionally makes its appearance known from time to time, a little bodyguard of sorts around the home. He isn't sure why the snake chose to create its hideout in his backyard canopy, but as long as it doesn't seem to bother him, he has no issue in keeping this little guy around. It was definitely a cute little break in the stream, but they did sadly forget what they were previously talking about, as something else selfishly took the limelight. Have you ever had a snake into your home? Let me know down below, and I'll be sure to talk about it in the next video.